Bill King joining us from Nashville Sports Radio, the king of college football talk, but he's also a prince of college baseball talk because he is a guy that loves his college baseball. And we got the Supers starting on Saturday, and Tennessee is going to be hosting Notre Dame. We'll get into that in a moment as well, but let's welcome him on here. Hey, Bill, how are you?
Nobody needs to go to Omaha. Tennessee's won it. Just don't even play.
It's already over, isn't it? Yeah. Just ask Tennessee the thing's done.
Correct. Where I'm from, that's the word. That's all I can tell you.
It's an interesting matchup with Notre Dame.
Good team. Yeah.
It is a good team, and it's a different style of baseball than Tennessee plays. You know, they play the mash it, just mash it as hard as you can, hit it high and hard. Notre Dame looks more like a team that moves runners around. They play a little more small ball, and I've read also too, like Bill, they're kind of the antithetical to the showiness that Tennessee displays on the field and in the stands. So you get a total different attitude, I think, of the way the game is played in that super regional.
The only thing Tennessee doesn't do well, and they're really bad at it, is throw people out from the catching position. They are terrible. Evan Russell, of course, is their catcher who's never got caught before until this year, and this is his 6th year. And he's done a good job back there, but they can't throw anybody out. So if you can get in a situation, I saw Baylor. Remember in March, they played Baylor. They were down 4-5-0 in the first inning. They must have stole 6 bases in the first inning. It didn't matter because Tennessee scored 7 in the next one, but that's been a problem all year.
Yeah, but the feeling really is, Tennessee's got everything outside of the ability to throw runners out. They've got a reliever that throws 105. They've got the best starting rotation that the SEC has seen this year. Might not be the deepest pen, but they haven't necessarily needed it because they're up by 8 or 9 runs so often. The other team in your area, Vanderbilt, didn't get out of their regional against Oregon State. And this year for Vandy, I know Corbin changed the starting rotation up, moving that lefty Holton to game 1. That's the guy that's going to lead their rotation next year. And pitching was a strength mostly this year, but offensively they were really up and down.
They had 3 veterans. Spencer Jones is a big 6'7" kid who just had an animal year. Dominic Keegan has been good, and then of course they've got as good a leadoff guy. They wouldn't trade the leadoff guy for anybody in America. Other than that, the shortstop, actually, who's a really slick defender, got benched. He's just not hitting it. Tate Cole, the second baseman, has been around. He's a Memphis kid. He's a scrapper, but he didn't hit it much this year. They didn't get a lot of veteran help, and not that you can replace Rocker and Leiter. That's probably not realistic, but they're not where they need to be in the pitching department either.
What did I see? Rocker was pitching for an independent team in New York.
Yeah,
and he's going back in the draft, right? It looks like he's got to be healthy. So, would you assume? I don't want you to play scout or anything like that. I'd assume he's a first-round pick last year. I don't know if things have changed very much. Do you think he gets drafted in the first round again?
I don't. It's so vague. Nobody has ever said what the Mets saw and why they declined. That's a big deal right there. Now, I thought Rocker from the beginning last year didn't look like he had bite on his fastball, like I'm used to seeing, that extra bite. And, of course, Mississippi State just demolished him in that last game. I always wondered if he'd been overpitched. And I just don't know, guys. If he went the first round, we wouldn't be shocked. But I don't know what the Mets know. Nobody seems to know. I heard one of the SEC commentators on TV, Ben McDonald, talking about it, and he was vague about it.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know if we'll ever really get the answer of what all went down there and what they saw. But, Bill, I do want to go back to Tennessee baseball real quick before we get into college football. What has the view been about the video that's obviously gone around on social media of the Tennessee baseball player flipping off the outfield as he's running around? I get the emotion and get the excitement, but it feels like crossing the line there, and it just brings me back to the probably one of the most famous Tennessee football photos of the last 10, 15 years of the player flipping off of the Alabama fans. How has that been perceived, in Nashville and throughout the Volunteer State?
That player in football is Rashawn Golden, who played high school right here in the county I'm from. Jordan Beck is a first-round pick. Has nothing to do with the bird, obviously. 6'3", 230, just an absolute gorilla. And what he did was terrible. Now but look, you've got to understand where I'm at. If you're a Tennessee fan, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not a Tennessee fan, it's very unprofessional. It shouldn't be tolerated, and the coach ought to do something about it. I can tell you they're not going to do anything about it. So that's where we're at. They're loving themselves right now.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured it was, but I thought I'd ask. Now to college football. To college football, something that a lot of different people have had their opinion about this week, about the College Football Hall of Fame ballots out. Tim Tebow, just right off the bat, he's a guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famer for college football, right?
I would think so, yeah.
Okay. Who else on that list that you really want to see in and thinks deserves it?
I don't even know the list.
Okay.
You throw a few out there at me. I don't even pay attention to that stuff.
Well, some of the ideal names right there, just off the front of the page, Ryan Leaf is up there. Then you have Vince Young up there.
Dan Hampton's not in the College Football Hall of Fame. He's in Canton. I can't put those two things together.
That's ridiculous. Correct.
How much weight do you put in the College Football Hall of Fame? I mean, is it just a nice thing for guys to say? Because I don't think anybody would put it on the level as actually being in Canton, Ohio.
Nah, it's too easy. Not with Dan Hampton, but in general. Look, every time I'm in Atlanta, one of our sponsors, the Omni, they give us tickets to go. I don't even go, and it's connected. It's 5 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in there I've done the show out of there before, but I just don't. I think Paul Johnson is up. Is that right? I think I saw that. I mean, he had a good career. Won the league that one year at Georgia Tech, but I don't get it. I don't pay attention. Let's go ahead and put Arch Manning in there before he plays.
That's where I was going with this. 'Cause I was gonna lead you into Arch Manning because he's already in the College Football Hall of Fame. You're right. He had a visit with Georgia, right? And it sounds like, from what I read, like, you never know what to believe, because it's like the latest visit is the place that he's expected to go. Like, I mean, what's the newest thing on Arch Manning? Is it Georgia?
Georgia seems to think they've got a fantastic shot, and I don't necessarily doubt them. He's still got that Alabama visit for coming up this weekend with Eliholstein, I believe, supposed to be on the same trip, a Louisiana kid who's committed. And then he's got Texas after that, and maybe an LSU and maybe a Florida. I think it's Georgia or Texas. Now, provided we get through this weekend. And, again, it's kind of weird, because if Alabama allows a Louisiana kid to verbally commit, because if they didn't want that kid to do it, they'd have told him, don't do it. Mm-hmm. They kept that quiet or not offered him or something. So they've already got a Louisiana kid committed, and they're bringing in the Louisiana kid, Arch Manning, and that one's going to be interesting. But if they get through that weekend and Alabama didn't make a move, it's got to be Texas or Georgia, with Georgia probably leading.
Who was I know this happened right after the initial back and forth with Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher. There was a commit for A&M who decommitted and then commits to Saban and Alabama right in the fumes of this back and forth. Who was that?
That was the quarterback, Eliholstein.
Okay, that's where I thought I saw that name.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you couldn't have planned it any better there. I mean, if you're Alabama, it's like, all right, well, there you go. They're not getting enough money over there. We got them just where we want them now. It was like it was planned that way.
Also, interesting story. Eliholstein was, I think, as a freshman at the same school as Walker Howard, Jamie Howard's son, 5-star, who's a freshman now at LSU. And they transferred to Zachary, which apparently is a couple of hours away, just because of a feud there, and they weren't getting their way on the depth chart. Now, it worked out. He's committed to Alabama, but apparently Dad's a handful. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, it's never good for most people to actually know that about a recruit's family, and that it can be somewhat hard to deal with. But Bill, this came out last week. I think it was on Thursday, so we didn't get your chance to get an opinion on it.
Yeah.
Sam Pittman's new contract. What were your thoughts about it? I mean, with the base money, that puts him at 9th in the SEC, but he has something that no other coach out there has. He actually has a non-compete clause in his contract that says he can't work in the SEC.
Just Sam Pittman, you're home. No problem with that in the contract. He is not thinking about, if I win this number of games and maybe somebody else will call me. He is absolutely as comfortable as he could be. It's an ideal fit culturally. It seems ideal with him and Arkansas football. He's brought back the toughness and everything else. So whatever they had him sign in there, whatever he agreed to, I'm sure he couldn't be happier with it, and very deserving. I got to admit, guys, and I was a skeptic. I wasn't a loud skeptic, but I didn't think he would flip things like he had.
Well, and he flipped it to the point where he's got himself a contract that some people still think he might be even a little bit underpaid for what he's done to turn this thing around.
Could be. Yeah.
Partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.